Now for food, there's a German cafe down the street there that's very, very good. But today we're coming up over here. There's a general store over here. It has some pretty good provisions and stocks. Definitely doable for bike touring. Off to see Rita the Troll. I think she's off on that knoll there. Well, this is definitely how to get warmed up in the morning. A very steep hill out here to see Rita. With the amount of cable spooled up on these guys, it makes you wonder how many hundreds of feet underground these miners went. The reason why the Cripple Creek mining area was so rich in gold is because it had old volcanic activity in this area here. They had to work with it to get all the angles.
That's true.
This is Rita the Hole Filler. The story behind this troll is that she went to sleep for 100 suns, and when she woke up, we had dug all these holes in the mountains. And so now she is putting the rocks back where they belong, back in the holes. Very creatively done. Even down to the toenails. Good shot of the size of that gold mine. Basically stretches from Cripple Creek almost to Victor. Back to where we started today. There's our hotel. We're just regrouping here to shed some clothing because it really warmed up so far this morning. Editor Dave here. I need to fill you in on some details of our ride back to the Springs from Victor because I had a minor calamity on the ride back. You'll understand by the end of this video. If you're thinking of doing this ride, I'll also include some tips at the end of riding Gold Camp or Old Stage Road from Colorado Springs to Victor and back. Here's a fun fact for you. There are more ghost town ruins in Colorado than there are actual thriving towns alive today. Just thought I'd throw that in. And we're over the pass. And that is the backside of Pikes Peak up there. And we got to ride around it. Gold Camp Road skirts around the shoulder this way. Off the paved road and back to old Gold Camp Road. Yep. On to the gravel again. It really warmed up. It was down like freezing when we got this morning at 7, 8. And it's probably up around mid-50s right now. We timed it right for the weather. So gold was discovered in Cripple Creek in 1890. And so they took action in 1900 and they built this railroad, the Colorado Springs and Cripple Creek District Railroad. It cost them like $40,000 per mile. Snack break time.
I miss riding with Mr. Littleton.
Yeah, where'd he go?
Where'd he go? He thought he would hold us up on the hill.
Gold was discovered in Cripple Creek in 1890. So they took action in 1900 and they built this railroad. The Colorado Springs and Cripple Creek District Railroad was completed in 1901. Theodore Roosevelt rode this train in 1901, and he described it as the trip that bankrupts the English language. By 1920, the railroad went out of business. A guy named Corley, a mine owner, bought the bankrupt railroad for $370,000, made it into a roadbed, and then he installed toll booths at both ends. In 1939, he then turned it over to the federal government. They made it free of charge and changed the name to Gold Camp Road. This road has a pretty amazing history to it. It's become a perfectly beautiful day. We are over the high point, and now it's basically all downhill back into Colorado Springs. Basically, one big, very long downhill. At the very top of the summit here, you're about 9,900 feet. This was known as Summit. Because the Gold Camp Railroad was so steep, they needed helper engines to get the trains up to there. This is also where they started what is known as coasting parties. They could rent a small handcart from the railroad. It would get pulled up to Summit where it would be uncoupled. Then as the train went on to Victor, they would coast back down to Colorado Springs, and they controlled their speed with the handbrakes on the cart. Doesn't that sound incredible? I wish they still ran those. We are now on Old Stage Road. We just passed where the two join up. And this sucker is very steep for the top half of it. So I had to put my chest mount on because there's no way I'm going to try and handhold the camera going down this. And you gotta watch for big rocks in the road too. Definitely bankrupts the English language. What's up? Oh, my arms are tired.
Yeah, I'm not finding a good spot.
Your arms are tired?
Yes.
Going down that?
Yes.
What from? Normally when we do this ride, there's a stables right back there about 20 feet. But they've got a little cantina restaurant hooked up with it. And the cantina's just down that road there, a couple hundred yards. Great place to eat. Serve great macaroni and cheese, brisket, chicken sandwiches, salads. Awesome. Unfortunately, it's too late in the season, they're closed. So we just gotta suffer on. Into the steep again. I'm hoping I get some good video because this is steep enough, but it's so washboardy that the camera bounces around on the chest mount. Oh, it's bouncing around, it's driving my brains loose. It's about now, if you squirted some water on your brake rotors, it would just steam away. They're so hot. This isn't the steepest road I've ever ridden, but the challenge is it just keeps going for so long that it just fatigues your hands and forearms. And if you ever want a really good training ride up this and then down Gold Camp. It definitely will give you a workout. Whoa, all right. All right, now we're down off the steepest bit. The thing that amazes me is that old Gold Camp Road, that's just how the trains got over to Cripple Creek. But this road here, Old Stage Road, is what the stagecoaches went up. I don't see how they were able to pull them up that steep hill or get them down that under control. This is about where Calamity struck. While descending Old Stage Road, my 360-degree camera bounced out of the camera bag on my bike. The ride is so chunky, I didn't even notice till we got to the bottom of the steep part. Bag empty, camera gone. I decided to ride back up about 6 miles to where I last saw it and see if I could spot it on the road. Not much hope of finding it, since it could have fallen out and bounced anywhere, but I really liked that camera, and it had a lot of footage on it from the ride. Trying to see if I can't find it. It's on the steep part too. Okay, so I climbed all the way back up. Now I'm going back down again, looking for my camera. So I get to ride this really steep, washboardy, rocky section 3 times, down, up, down. But I think the camera's gone. I think probably somebody drove along and saw it in the middle of the road and picked it up. They would have had no idea whose camera it was. All right, I'm going to turn this off and go down the road looking for my camera.
A few moments later.
Well, I do not believe it. Somebody saw it in the road and they stuck it over here in this log. Let's see what kind of condition it's in. Well, the lenses are ruined, but hopefully the memory stick's good. Well, the lens for the old camera was shot. I had to go out and buy myself a new one with newfangled technology in it. Much better, but much bigger and heavier. I really like that old camera for its size and its flexibility. So now I gotta learn how to use the new camera. I always like this section of the road. Great views off to the left. You're up on the side of the canyon. It's so pretty. Oh, washboards are brutal. The problem is you can't see them when you go into the shade. Old Stage Road was built as a toll road around 1880, and it was originally called Cheyenne Mountain Trail, mainly because the first 5 or so miles it climbs around the backside of Cheyenne Mountain. This is famous for the movie War Games, where NORAD used to have its nuclear headquarters built within the mountain there. The toll booth for the Cheyenne Mountain Trail was located down where the Broadmoor Hotel stands now. Getting down closer to Colorado Springs now, so you start seeing a few more cars and people out. But look at that view over there. Yesterday when we rode up to Victor, you can see the road cut right up there, hopefully. And we came up the canyon on the other side of Mount Muskoka there. It's hard keeping your eyes on the road with all this scenery. And there's Colorado Springs. Oh my goodness, the washboards were so bad today. And that's the end of the gravel, on to paved tarmac. We're heading down to my friend's house where we parked the car right now. Thank you so much for watching. This is truly a great ride, and I highly recommend if you ever get the chance to do it. I'll have the link to the Komoot maps if you want to try it. You can download it to your Garmin or navigation device. I promised you at the start that I would give you some tips for riding Gold Camp Road. First, if you want to have a great one-day ride, arrange for a shuttle to take you up to Cripple Creek or Victor and then ride from there back to the Springs. You don't have much climbing. It's mainly flat with a lot of downhill. And you can come down either Gold Camp Road or Old Stage Road at the end. It makes a great 40-mile ride. Second, taking Gold Camp Road the entire way from the Springs to Victor is much more scenic, and you get 2 more tunnels than you do if you come down Old Stage Road. If you can get someone to drop you off at the top of Cheyenne Canyon, you can cut off about 1/3 of the climbing of the ride, and it really makes it much more doable. However, once you cross the collapsed tunnel on Gold Camp Road, you can have some pretty deep and chunky gravel, which takes a toll on you on climbing up the road. If you decide to climb up Old Stage Road, you have 2 things to keep in mind. First, you have to share the road with cars. Not many, but there are some. And second, you have a nasty 8-mile hill section that runs between a 10 and 19% gradient. It can have a lot of washboards on it, so it can make it a pretty tough climb, especially if you're carrying gear. So while climbing Gold Camp Road the entire way is longer and has more gravel issues, I'd recommend that route by far for the climb. The return trip. Gold Camp Road is much easier to come down. You just gotta watch that your front wheel doesn't wash out in the deep gravel sections. However, Old Stage Road has the cantina on it, and that sways my vote. But coming down Old Stage Road will really work your hands and arms. As you saw in our video, we had to stop a couple times due to arm pump on the descent. You can do this entire ride on an e-bike. The entire route is open to e-bikes, but I would make sure it's an e-mountain bike or an e-gravel bike. Make sure that you have a big battery, 500 watts at the very least, and you'll need to really conserve your juice so that you can make it to Victor. The ride back, your battery should be fine. Fat tires and suspension are the way to go. For this ride, I have 50mm tires on my gravel bike. My wife had 45mm tires. We both have Redshift shock stems and seat posts, and she has a front suspension fork on her gravel bike. And on the way down Old Stage Road, a mountain bike would really be the bike of choice. It absorbs the washboards and the chunk much better, and your forearms will thank you. However, most of this ride is better suited for a gravel bike. It's a real trade-off, comfort or climbing efficiency. Finally, you can always ride up Gold Camp Road and then not do the entire ride, but then descend Old Stage Road with a stop at La Cantina. This makes for a good 25+ mile loop that is hard to beat. Great scenery, good riding, and phenomenal food. If you do the ride or have done it in the past, please drop your thoughts about the ride in the comments below. I would love to hear how it went for you, and I'm sure other people would as well.
So if you like this video, click on the little cartoon of my head up there and YouTube will subscribe you to the channel. If you like my biking videos, you can click over here. Here's yesterday's video. Down there, that's a playlist of all my bicycle videos.